The Philippines has been called Tiger Economy of Asia, a destination for leisure, and a viable choice for business investments. But all these are threatened by an imminent force: disasters. Disaster events call for resiliency, an adaptive resiliency. This is the ability to scale up preparedness in the face of changing weather and climate change. Our country is among the countries most exposed and vulnerable to disasters and has multi-hazards. But our attitudes have remained the same towards disasters. We have been reactive, with little foresight and low preparation. The advent of more extreme weather events, coupled with climate change, has prompted our lawmakers to create policies that would set the motion to becoming a more resilient country. The DRRM Act of 2010 and the Climate Change Act of 2009 provides for structures, systems, and plans to make the Philippines more resilient. It diverted efforts and priorities from post-disaster into pre-disaster activities. The law enables the creation of proactive communities for disasters instead of reactive ones. With the laws in place, there is a greater need for local chief executives to enhance their capacities as frontliners against disasters. Heeding this call, the DILG, through the Local Government Academy, collaborated with local governments and various agencies to create an action guide for LCEs. The LGU Disaster Preparedness Journal is a checklist of minimum actions for LCEs. It features two checklists. First, early preparedness actions, and second, critical period actions. The first checklist is the early preparedness actions, to be done when there is no immediate threat of a disaster. These are proactive actions taken as preparatory and necessary measures to be able to carry out the functions during the critical periods. First, create systems, institutionalize policies and plans. Third, build the competency of the created structures. And finally, purchase and prepare the needed hardware to complement the strategies. The second part has a list of the critical period actions. It has 5 general action areas across an 8-day timeline. Actions are triggered by an advisory of a weather disturbance. It starts from day -6 to 5 and covers the actual day of impact and the day after when the alert is lifted. First, keeping the public informed and aware through early warnings. Second, organizing the disaster risk reduction machinery by mobilizing and activating DRRM structures, systems, and processes. Third, the LCE will then be ready to prepare and secure facilities to protect the public through evacuation and relief operations. The LCE must also be able to organize and deploy search and rescue teams. Finally, vital services must be kept operational or with minimum disruption by securing lifelines. The checklist works across time and per action area. For example, on day -6, an advisory is issued stating that the typhoon is still outside the Philippine area of responsibility. This is the opportune time to convene the LDRRM Council and meet with various key stakeholders and partners that have roles in the next succeeding days. The weather bulletin must be monitored every 6 hours and the info relayed to the public. On day -5, the advisory becomes an alert, stating that the typhoon is inside the PAR already. Continuous monitoring of the weather bulletin is critical at this point. On day -4, make sure that early warning systems are activated and early warning signs are visible. Needed resources must also be pre-positioned and identified evacuation centers prepared. Price monitoring on basic needs should also be started. On day -3, a definitive typhoon path is issued, so preemptive evacuation should be started for island and coastal communities along the path. Relief distribution shall also start for evacuees. The various teams should be deployed near high-risk areas. On day -2, signal number 1 and the first gale warning is issued, prohibiting fishing in the open sea and rivers. Preemptive evacuation should be continued in high-risk areas and start enforcing agreements made with partners for response aid. Before the day of impact, make sure that the search and rescue teams are on standby near critical high-risk areas. On the day of impact, declare a state of calamity as needed and commence search and rescue operations. Finally, on day +1, after the typhoon signal has been lifted, assessment has to be made on the damages. Search and rescue continue, clearing operations start. Actions in the critical periods may be fast-tracked depending on the speed of a typhoon's development. In these cases, actions for 2 to 3 days may have to be done simultaneously. It is important not to skip actions required of a period or day. This checklist is a first of its kind for disaster preparedness and should form part of our habits. Gone are the times of helplessness and anxious waiting for disasters to strike. Local governments are now armed with a tool to take disasters face on and brace for impact with greater confidence. The LGU Disaster Preparedness Checklist. Siguraduhing handa ang pamayanan mo.